So, good day, everyone. Konnichiwa. Здравствуйте. My name is Yulia Zaika, and I'm going to moderate the session today. I'm representing Faculty of Geography, Lomonosov Moscow State University, and also the Federal Research Center, Kola Science Center of the Russian Academy of Sciences. And I'm moderating the session today directly from the Russian Arctic, from Murmansk region, from the middle of the polar night. So it's complete darkness outside, even though it is 10 a.m. And I hope that this session will light up and make it bright, the polar night bright, with all the great examples of Japan-Russian collaborations. And with this session, we are going to discuss on the current ongoing projects and also some prospective projects and ideas for the future. And on behalf of organizers, the Association of Japanese and Russian Universities, Lomonosov Moscow State University, we welcome all our great speakers today. And thank you so much for your time and commitment and participations in our session. And we also welcome our audience behind the screen. And before I will give a microphone to our great speakers, before I will open the floor, I will say a few words about housekeeping rules. So we are going to have a very good, friendly, and ethical and professional discussion. And I would like to ask you to keep your microphones muted while the other person is speaking. And also, please keep your... Yeah, it's important to keep microphones muted. So, and also would like to ask you to keep your cameras on. Just because we are not a large community of experts and speakers, so it would be nice to see our each other's faces. And also, the session is recorded, and thank you so much. The session is recorded and broadcasting, as I said, so we have audience behind the screen that we doesn't see. And just to outline the session a little bit, I would like to say that each of you will have 15 minutes for presentation, which will include very quick questions afterwards, which means that the presentation itself should take at around 12-13 minutes. And I should apologize beforehand because I will interrupt you sometime 2 minutes before the end of the time. And just to notify you that you still have 2 minutes to finish. And also at the end of the session, we will have a Q&A where I hope we will have a very good and productive discussion. So, and with this, I would like to move to our first speaker, Professor Hiroyuki Enomoto, representing Arctic Environmental Research Center, National Institute of Polar Research. And Professor Hiroyuki is the leading member of the Japanese Arctic Research Project, which enhances international collaborative research and international relationships and capacity building. Professor Enomoto is the Vice President of the International Arctic Science Committee, IASC, and his main research area are cryospheric sciences, climatology, remote sensing technology. Hiroyuki-san, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for introduction. I now share the screen. I hope you can see my screen now. Okay. Okay. Then, so thank you very much for introduction, very kind introduction. I'm glad for this opportunity. So thank you very much for having me in this meeting. So the title of my presentation is Achievement of Arctic Science Cooperation between Japan and Russia and Expectation to the future. This is a quick history view of the collaboration. So far, Japan and Russia have conducted a lot of joint research. This figure is showing only a part of collaboration, we sure will have more activities in the future. Many successes of collaboration have been achieved. We are also looking for new form of the collaboration. And you can see since 2011, a new Japanese science movement has been established to gather many researchers to work on Arctic research together. Currently, over 300 researchers and faculty members and 48 Japanese universities and research institutes are participating in a project called ARCS-2. Along with research, we are also focusing on personnel exchanges. So opportunities to discuss possible cooperation between Japanese and Russian researchers took place many times. So we had one in Tokyo in 2014 and in Moscow in 2017. 2018 happened in conjunction with the International Symposium in Tokyo. So this is a view of the construction of the ARCS-2 project. The ARCS-2 is the Arctic Challenge for Sustainability project. The ARCS-2 is the ongoing Japanese flagship project. This project implements research and human resource development and strengthens international connection. Access to Arctic field, you can see here collaboration site. Access to the Arctic field research and training at those sites and institutes what is mostly focused on natural change, social change, and social demands for the Arctic have changed significantly over the last decade. We will search and propose what we should aim for in the future, how science should behave, and how we can generate social reactions. For this reason, the project was started as an endeavor that incorporates natural science, humanities, and social sciences, disaster prevention, and engaging and field of law and policy surrounding the Arctic. So this is the project. And there are many cooperative observation activities at the research site in Russia. So right-hand side is a map where Japanese researchers are working. And we are visiting Skaskayapat Scientific Forest Station in cooperation with the Institute for Biological Problems in the Northern Region, IBPC. We will proceed with field observation with the flux observation tower. We will continue to acquire atmospheric and precipitation data in close collaboration with Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute, ARI, at Cape Baranova. We have also been visiting Tiksi, Tura, and Chokorud. We asked icebreaker Malsanovsky for oceanographic observation around the Bering Sea and Anadyr Bay in July and from July to September in 2018. Here are some examples of scientific and cultural interaction event in Russia and Japan. This book on the left was originally published in Russian, then translated to English. Mobile exhibition in West Siberia was inaugurated with the local community this year. International Symposium on Arctic Research, ISA, invited musicians and cultural performers to Tokyo in January 2018. Act 2 is expanding capacity building and research promotion programs. By the overseas fellowship program, Japanese young researchers and collaboration with Japanese researchers are collaborating with Russian scientists. This is a very nice opportunity for young researchers to train their ability and establish strong connection with Russian scientists, which is invaluable for their career. Here are cases of bird research in Magadan Bay and permafrost monitoring around Batagai. And this September, last week I met the one researcher who came back from this expedition. So this September, through the International Research Exchange Program, Japanese scientists joined the Arctic Ocean Science Cruise. It's a very gorgeous opportunity for Japanese scientists to go frozen Arctic Ocean with the Russian icebreaker. And I'm sure they are very happy for this opportunity and get very fruitful result from that cruise. They joined a 40 days polar expedition on the Russian research vessel Academic Trioshnikov to observe sea ice conditions in Arctic Ocean. And so this is the conclusion of my short presentation. So Japan and Russia have cooperated a lot in the past. Since the recent change in the Arctic environment are very rapid, it is necessary to put more effort into Arctic research. At the beginning of my presentation, so I mentioned about 30 years of history of our collaboration. And now I should say it has been growing rapidly in the last 10 years. And we hope that grow more in the coming 10 years. So as a place of research, when Russia has a visit area in the Arctic where various natural phenomena are occurring, regions adjacent to Japan have the direct impact from there and impact through global climate change. So it is necessary to work from both perspectives, so direct and indirect. Japan is very energetically advancing Arctic research, especially in last decade. So at this year's meeting of the Ministers of Science, so the name of meeting is ASM3. So we, Japan, emphasize the need for international cooperation and training of the next generation of researchers. It is essential for Japan and Russia to make the best use of our current observation and research system, and to consider future development of human resources. So as a second perspective of my talk, the present and the future insight are essential. So finally, the last line is a very short line, but before I arrive reached to this opinion, I talked with some colleagues. While preparing for this presentation, I asked this one Japanese researcher who has experience. So this researcher for his experience. When he was a young student, he traveled to Russia and experienced its unique nature, culture, and language. And now, then he became an expert in environmental research. He joined and learned from the geocryology group at the Moscow State University. So, and he says also, it was great that he met good supervisor through his career. The third point is how to make students develop their ambition and how we can support, we can supervise, and help them thrive. So now I want to conclude my presentation, but we are now advancing very big national project. But we learned also we need the activities of each and every one of us. So thank you very much. So
Thank you so much, Hirayuki-san. Arigatou gozaimasu. Yeah, it was great to see that a lot of interesting research and a lot of interesting projects are happening that has been covered through your presentation. And you raised up a lot of great questions, for example, like social awareness, how we can make the public aware of Arctic changes. And you have also, I think, answered partly to the question with all your projects and information, because you have shown a lot of educational materials, research promotion efforts, and it was very nice to see the mention of Barents Sea, which is quite closer to my area as well.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting to see that you've been somewhere around. And I totally agree with you that we definitely need joint collaborative research activities to understand the Arctic change. It is quite important. And it's also great to see that you have experience with the good access, infrastructural access to the Russian Arctic, to the research stations, to different vessels, and it's really interesting and a great example. And if there are any questions from our great experts that they want to address to our speaker, the first speaker. And I hope that we will also learn a little bit from other speakers, because I know that there will be some mentioning of the different educational programs as well for young scientists. And it's a very good point that you brought up. I hope that we will have chance to discuss it during the Q&A for future probably collaborative activities, but also we will have some interesting presentations further. So thank you so much, Hiroyuki-san. If there are no any questions just right now, we will then move forward to another great speaker, Dr. Tuyara Gavrileva. Tuyara is professor at Engineering and Technical Institute at Northeastern Federal University, Department of Regional Economic and Social Studies at the Federal Research Center Yakutistan Science Center of Siberian branch of Russian Academy of Sciences. And Tuyara is leading the Russian team for the RISE project that she's representing today. And she has over 25 years of experience in regional economy, evolution of the settlement system, rural poverty, and ecosystem economics in Yakutia. And she has participated and led international projects in cooperation with universities from Japan and also the United States. So Tuyara, the floor is yours. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Yulia, for so warm introduction to me. So yeah, I'm a leader of the Russian team of the RISE project. And so, of course, I asked Jorge Garcia Molinas, who is a assistant professor of Arctic Research Center, Hokkaido University. He's our main leader of RISE project, but so because he's busy with online workshop with Thai team these days, so I have to present the project today. So RISE project, climate change resilience of indigenous socio-ecological systems. This project connected not only with the Arctic environmental or society. This cooperative research project aims to project current and future risks from climate change and socio-economical development to the natural capital supporting traditional indigenous socio-ecological systems. Two distinctive systems in Thailand and in Russia, Siberia will be used as case studies. RISE will deliver high-impact science to inform effective decision-making towards regional development, sustainability, and climate change adaptation. So, the period of our project is 2021-2023 in Russia, and in Japan 2024. So, and goals of our project are develop a transdisciplinary approach combining on-site socioeconomic and nutritional service with ecological models to characterize indigenous socio-ecological systems through traditional food systems. Project future change in traditional food systems from contrasting scenarios of climate change and socioeconomic development. Estimate risk of indigenous socio-ecological systems, sustainability, and explore limits and enablers of adaptation to inform regional development and the climate and sustainability policy agendas. Expected outcome. RISE will provide comprehensive transdisciplinary understanding about the impacts of future climate change and socio-economical development on the sustainability of indigenous socio-ecological systems through change in traditional food systems. Our proposal is strategically designed not only to address key frontier research questions, but chiefly to have a high impact in the integration of indigenous issues within the climate change and sustainable development goals agenda and regional development. With over 50% of early career members, RISE will not will provide the next, will help to prepare the next generation of researchers and science communicators through training, research stays, active participation in workshops and scientific meetings, and involvement in our communication and outreach strategy. So this picture shows the main groups of RISE project, and the leading group of the project is a group of University Hokkaido and University Tokyo. And our main leader is Jorge Garcia Molinas. He specializes in biodiversity issues. The Russia presents by our team from Yakutia. Researchers from Northeastern Federal University and IBPC are involved at that project. And the third side of our project is Mahidol University, Thailand, Bangkok. So we have 5 working packages. There are different between leading roles of national teams, and we have a complex plan, research plan for 3 years. So this picture shows our sites, our case studies, communities to achieve the project goals. RISE will use a comparative case study approach, coupling on-site socioeconomic, including systematic household surveys, dietary recall interviews, and nutritional observations. For example, including estimation of consuming of traditional and modern marketed food, including anthropometric, dietary, and biochemical assessments also. And on two target communities in Sakha, Siberia, and Karen, Thailand. With future changes in key traditional food species projecting using ecological models underpinning traditional food systems under contrasting scenarios of climate change and socioeconomic development. Results will be integrated into a risk assessment framework to explore vulnerabilities and adaptation options with stakeholder participations lessons learned. So for officials who will do any decision. So this picture shows the few our case study communities where we where our field works were held this summer. Initially, first of all, it was assumed that the study would cover 10 out of 34 municipal districts of Sakha, Yakutia, considering the ethnic makeup and the predominant type of traditional economic activity. The sample was adjusted by including additional parameters, economic zones of Yakutia, and population size of settlements based on 2010 All Russian population census. Adjusted sample includes 400 rural households in 18 settlements of 16 municipal districts of Sakha Republic. So this summer we visited 15 villages in Yakutia. I'm sorry. It's just how to say, just a flu. So field studies were carried from June 1st to October 15 in 15 settlements of Sakha Republic. A total of 330 of required 400 questionnaires were collected. The fieldwork progress had to be adjusted given the limited accessibility of settlements during the unprecedented forest fires in Yakutia in the summer of 2021. A research questionnaire was updated and tested as a part of the socio-economic survey. During the first round of fieldwork, June 1st, 7, in Nurbinsky, Viluysky, and Verkhny districts, a questionnaire consisting of 112 questions was used. Subsequently, the questionnaire was reduced to 99 questions. On average, it takes about 1 hour to fill in one questionnaire. So there are some pictures from our fields, how we collected data, how we fill questionnaires, and there is just how to say the river transport river connection through Alenok River. So, and there is just one member of our team, Varya, my postgraduate student, observing. She is observing the burnt areas in Kabyai village. So we visited this area in early September. So also we collected food samples. It's just a goal of our one working package, and food samples were collected as a part of the field work. Traditional species of plant, game, poultry, and fish used in the diet of the indigenous people of Yakutia. Due to restricted international transportation, food samples were analyzed at the Novosibirsk State Health Care Institution.
Bagheera, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Yulia. So a total of 13 food samples were sent for analysis: berries, mushrooms, meat, fish, poultry, and the results obtained will be used to analyze the composition of food products and their nutritional value during the following year of the project. So the Russian team of the RISE project took part in a training held by Institute of Nutrition, Mahidol University, Bangkok, Thailand, on November 15-19 this year. So we trained to to do the anthropogenical assessment, to do dietary assessment, and so there are some intermediate outcomes of the first year of the RISE project. We prepared a list of the most common local edible species, and we did the price monitoring using a special form, and we'll use this data for understanding the physical and price accessibility of marketed food in local Arctic communities. Also, in-depth interviews were carried out as a part of the fieldwork in 11 settlements of Yakutia. And also, we prepared the list of sources for formation of database of socioeconomic indicators and statistical collections and ads. And also we submitted 7 articles this year. And also Hokkaido University, Japan, Tokyo University, Japan, Northeastern Federal University of Russia, and Mahidol University will enter into a 4-way agreement on cooperation for the project implementation under EASIA GRP Collaborative Research Agreement. An application was submitted to the Ethics Committee of the NIFU Medical Institute to undertake an ethics review on 2022 fieldwork program. So that's all. Thank you for attention.
Thank you so much, Diara. It is great to see such an interesting actual research project that is happening at the moment. So it's ongoing. And of course, it's very important to study socio-ecological systems in the Arctic, which has an important ontological meaning for indigenous people and their food security. Thank you so much. And that was interesting to see also that 50% of your project team is early career researchers that actually echoes what Professor Enomoto has said, that it is very important to have this training of the next generation of researchers. And also it's important to have science communicators, science communication, just to make this social awareness of the changes that happens in the Arctic. So thank you so much. I will give a floor for one question if there is any from our speakers.
May I ask one question?
Yes, sure. Go ahead, Yoshihira-san.
Yeah. Tuya-san, thank you very much for your very interesting topics. And I would like to ask you, our AX2 project also has the almost the same research target on food security in the Arctic. And do you have any connection with AX2 research persons in Japan?
I have some connection with Professor Shinichiro Tabata.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but we discussed just issues which not connected with food security. So yeah, we discussed another question. So connected to socioeconomical situation and about statistical data collection, just about that. So, but I'm sure that in the future it will be very fruitful to maybe to share some data, yeah, between different research groups. Yeah, it would be
Yeah,
very
of
interesting.
course. So and I will talk with my colleagues, Professor Takakura in Tohoku University. Maybe you know, and
yeah, I know,
yeah.
of course. Yeah.
Yes, and he is a leader of this topic, and
Yeah.
I will talk him to enhance the collaboration with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I add some comments?
Yes, sure. Go ahead, Yuriko-san.
So,
Yep.
AX project is so ongoing, and we know there is still many issues not touched yet. And the AX2 has a function to endeavor new material and support new activity. So one case is sent young researcher to some place, and other is the institute and institute connection established. So during 5-year project, the initiation of the institute and institute or university and university connection can so initiated. That opportunity is also AX2 project is expanding. So please use that opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hiroyuki-san and Yoshihiro-san. That's interesting, and it's great to see that a lot of great ideas are popping up during the session. It's during presentations. That's great. Thank you so much. And with this, I would like to give a floor to Professor Yoshihiro Ijima, who's representing Graduate School of Bioresources, May University, and Professor Yoshihira is Associated Editor of the Polar Science and Chief Editor in Human Geoscience section of Progress in Earth and Planetary Science. He has research interests in physical geography, climatology, and environmental change in permafrost zone. And he co-edited science book, Water Carbon Dynamics in Eastern Siberia, which was published by Springer Japan in 2019. And also Professor Yoshihiro Ijima is a Japan representative to the advisory group of IASC, International Arctic Science Committee, which is ICERA, International Science Initiative in the Russian Arctic. So Yoshihiro-san, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your invitation today. And this is the title of my presentation today, the prominent examples of scientific collaboration between Japanese and Russian research groups. So I will show you very briefly on the topics of each ongoing or recent research activities between Russia and Japan. And as Yuria-san already introduced, I am a member of the ICERA in Arctic Research Framework. And today I would like to show the two topics. The first one is the AX and AX2 project relating the Russia and Japan collaboration. And the second one is just a bilateral research collaboration funded by JST and Russian side, the naming the JST PsyCorp studies. And as Enomoto-san already mentioned, we are now having the ongoing project AX2 just started in last fiscal year, and this project is a 5 years plan. And based on these 4 strategic goals, the first one is the advanced observation of Arctic environmental change. And the second one is the improvement of weather and climate prediction. And the third one is the impact of Arctic environmental change on society. And the fourth one is a legal and policy response and research implementation for a sustainable Arctic. So we are now ongoing 11 research programs. And as you can see, so it looks a very diverse project. including transdisciplinary collaboration, not only in Russia, with other most of whole Arctic-related countries. And in this project, myself and as I mentioned, the Professor Takakura is managing the one research project entitled Impact of Arctic Environmental Change on Society. And this research project has three topics. The one is the holistic impact assessment on permafrost degradation and ecohydrological change. And this sub-theme is leading by myself. And the second one is the energy resource development and the regional economy, leaded by Shinichiro Tabata in Hokkaido University. And the third one is the food and identity in indigenous societies. It means the food security problem in leading by Hiroki Takakura in Tohoku University. And our research area is mainly in the Eastern Siberian regions because we have very long collaborative research histories, as Enomo-san said, more than 30 or 40 years. And in this area, of course, this is a very large distribution of the continuous permafrost and a very unique ecosystem and cryospheric features, now endangered climatic impact. And at this in this area, so we are now doing many research activities with Russian and Siberian colleagues. And one is developing assessment for permafrost degradation. So this is a fundamental issue to detect the signal of the degradation in this area. Using satellite remote sensing and deep learning methods and land surface process modeling, and possibly so we will restart the field survey in coming years. And not only the field natural science, we already also collaborate with social science researchers and stakeholders to understand the comprehensive scientific knowledge of, towards the climatic change and permafrost degradation. And we are now collecting the many data and how to say, dialogue informations with local stakeholders. And before the AX2 project, we have already done some important works during the AX, the previous research program. And this was done by almost the same researchers. And the name was research is a co-design project of the environmental education for the Siberian indigenous communities. So we did the very dense field research in the eastern part of the Sakha Republic in Chirapcha town area, and we collaborate with some not only natural but social research, social science researchers. And one of the important outcomes of this research project is to understand the perceptions of climate change by indigenous peoples. So we have done a structured questionnaire survey with Russian colleagues, and we collect many data on the questionnaires. And after the analysis, we could get the information, how people understand the climate changes, recognizing the climatic changes. So most of the people are understanding the increase of the temperature and rainfall changes, but not so much thinking about the snowfall changes. And also we use some PCA analysis and to grouping the informant perceptions. And we have made 4 different clusters like this. And the first one is very high recognition of the precipitation increase and the temperature increase, especially in summertime. And second one is more attention on the drought frequency. And third group is temperature increase in winter time. And D is other percent. So like this understanding, so we also investigating the actual actual agricultural response in Sakha Republic. So, and one of the example is increasing the number of horse farming and decreasing the cattle farming. So this is a very interesting response during this decade. And it means the cow need much of hay during winter time, but the hay quality is now decreasing, and people change to the number of the cow and increasing the number of the horse. So this is the one with the response, actual response in this decade.
Yoshihira-san, you have
yes.
2 minutes left.
Okay, sorry. So another one. So this is already Enomoto-san mentioned about the research, educational book, Permafrost and the Culture. So we already published in Russian and English materials. So we can, so you can contact me to get this book. And another topic, recent topic on Arctic ARC2 project is now mainly using the satellite analysis, because we could not go into the Russian countries due to the COVID-19 problems. And but we can do very interesting result using this satellite analysis to understand the what kind of the land surface was more significantly degraded. And as you can see, this blue area shows the much intensive thermokarst degradation occurred. So this area is almost the same territory as you can see the old time cultivated area and the grassland area. And this was this is, image is land surface degraded area by thermokarst development. And we also do some very intensive research collaboration with Russian colleagues. And this means that JST psychop studies. And first, so there are 3 years program. And this year is the last year. And so as you can see, this is 2 different topics was ongoing. And one is by Professor Matsuyama in Tokyo Metropolitan University and Valery Zemtov in Tomsk State University on topic of the hydrometeorological impacts in Tomsk regions. And another topic is led by myself and Sergei Gurev and Pavel Grossman in Institute of Oceanology. And in the topic is also the hydrological cycle changes in whole Arctic regions, in Russian Arctic regions. And yeah, in this JST cycle program, so we already get a very interesting result on extreme event occurrence in Russian territories and testing the hydrological modeling in these regions. And also establishing the land surface classification mapping and river water dissolved material dynamics. Okay, so and in another project, so we already also collaborate with Russian colleagues about the permafrost degradation and its impact on whole Russian permafrost regions. So, we also are now planning the joint international workshop in symposium in coming March, and I highly welcome to participate in this international symposium. So unfortunately, the Russian colleague may participate in by online, but we hope to continue our collaboration in coming years. So thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Yoshihiro-san. Arigatou gozaimasu. And thank you for welcoming participation in the workshop and also for the great presentation. As you have already mentioned, the climate change perceptions are quite different. And also, while preparing to this particular session, we were thinking to concentrate only on the natural sciences and perspective on natural research, the nature of the Arctic. But then we just realized, and you have already mentioned that the holistic perspective is quite important and the socio-ecological systems should be studied in the holistic approach. So that's why we have very interesting examples of research projects ongoing at the moment in the Arctic. And it is actually interesting to see that all of them mostly concentrated in the Yakutian area, but Russian Arctic has very big territory. And I hope that you will at some point will be interested to have joint research projects, for example, in Murmansk region one day, or in Arkhangelsk as well. And with this, I would like to give a floor to our next speaker, Alexander Saborov, who is director at the Institute for Strategic Development of the Arctic, Northern Arctic Federal University, which is located in Arkhangelsk. And Alexander is leader of the Arctic Floating University expeditions. So since 2016, Alexander is involved in organization of these expeditions, which are in international research and educational, has background of international research and educational components. So he's also executive secretary of the Association and National Arctic Research and Education Consortium in Russia, which unites 40 universities and other organizations working in the field of staff training for the Russian Arctic. And his research interests are connected with history of research in the Arctic regions and development of education and science in the Arctic nowadays. So Alexander, the floor is yours.
Yulia, colleagues, thank you very much for this opportunity. And today I would like to present a prospective infrastructure and networking platform for collaboration between Russian and Japanese researchers, especially students and PhD students, which is called Arctic Floating University Expeditions. So I'll start briefly with the idea of the expeditions. They are realized since 2012, and basically this is an annual research and educational marine expedition on board of ice-class research vessel, which takes part each summer. The duration of each expedition is usually from 20 to 40 days, in summertime. As you can see on the map on the slide, the area of expeditions, they cover exactly the western part of the Russian Arctic, White Barents and Kara Seas. And during each expeditions, usually there are from approximately 4 or 5 landings, only on the archipelagos and islands of the Western Arctic, exactly Novaya Zemlya, Franz Josef Land, or Spitsbergen or Svalbard, and the coast and the smaller islands of the Arctic Ocean. So these expeditions are organized by our Northern Arctic Federal University, which is located in Arkhangelsk, northwestern part of Russia, and Russian Hydrometeorological Service. So the expeditions, as previously explained, they are hauled on the research vessels. These are research vessels of Russian Hydrometeorological Service. So on the slide, you can see the example of Professor Molchanov, one of the vessels we used to, for our expeditions. So this is a specially built vessel for research with the ice glass, which lets it to operate in the summertime in the light 1 year ice. So there are special labs, as you can see, and equipment, especially for oceanographical works and meteorological works on board, and laboratories and rooms for lectures, web seminars, and reunions. Last years, we're happy that we were able to develop as the project as a international project. So you can see on the map the geography of participants. Of course, most of the participants represent different Russian universities and research institutes, which you could see also on the map. We're not very happy that we haven't had Japanese researchers, students, and PhD students on board. So we'll be glad that to see the first Japanese participants of the Arctic Floating University expeditions. And as you can see from the geography, this is a good opportunity not only for taking samples or making measurements, but for making connections with researchers, not only from NARFU, but also from other Russian and non-Russian universities. On the example of the expedition, which was held this year, I will give you a more detailed overview of how the expedition are held and what kind of research could be done during the expedition. So the expedition Arctic Floating University 2021 was organized from 10th of June to 1st of July on the research expedition vessel Mikhail Somov, a big ice class vessel. And the expedition route is presented on the slide. So it started in Arkhangelsk, following Novaya Zemlya, the northern island, Franz Josef Land, with the 4 landings, and coming back to Arkhangelsk. As you can see, the red line on the map, this is an oceanographical transit from northern part of Novaya Zemlya to Franz Josef Land. 19 oceanographical stations were done on this transit, and also several stations were made during the stations on the Franz Josef Land. So this year we had 15 universities and research organizations taking part in the expedition. You can see all of them on the slide, logos and photos. This year, because of COVID restrictions, we decided to make expedition only for Russian participants, because there were some, as you know, serious challenges with crossing the border. So we hope that these challenges will be worked out during the time and the vaccination development. So the participants of, for example, Moscow State University's Arctic and Antarctic Research Institutes and Petersburg University took part in the expeditions, as well as other research and educational institutions. Also, there were two other small research groups, not part of our expeditions, from the Severtsov Institute of Ecology and Evolution, who studied the polar bears and narwhals. And now several words about the research which was conducted during the expedition itself, and I'll stop on just some of them. For example, during the landings, a number of research connected with soil science and climate change were conducted. For example, distribution of carbon cycle components in the soils of typical ecosystems of the islands of Franz Josef Land and Novaya Zemlya Archipelagos was done by a representative of Moscow State University. And already during the expedition, it was shown that the Arctic desert soils, even at the very beginning of the vegetation periods in the end of June, are characterized by a significant flow of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Of course, all the soil samples are being treated and interpreted right now, and we are looking forward for new results of this research. A lot of was said today about the permafrost, and probably you know that now there's developed the Russian system of monitoring for permafrost. And during our expedition, a representative of Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute did a reconnaissance for a station of this monitoring of permafrost. And it was actually found quite a good point in the Hayes Island of the Franz Josef Land Archipelagos. Other research groups, they of course include different environmental studies, which is one of the dominant, I would say, research fields in our expeditions. So one of them was connected with marine litter and microplastics. So the water samples and marine litter was collected both in the water and on the shores of Cape Jelania and Novaya Zemlya and Bell Island, Franz Josef Land. And actually, already the results showed a very big amount of plastic marine litter, most of European origin, on the Barents Sea beach of the Novaya Zemlya, for example. Another environmental research field was connected with screening and determination of organic pollutants in the air and the snow on the route of the vessel. That was made by our NARFA postgraduate, Thomas Latkin. Another field of research is connected with biodiversity. And one of the most interesting research during the expedition was connected with microbiology. So Artemy Goncharov from Institute of Experimental Medicine in St. Petersburg, he conducted a very interesting study on the antibiotic-resistant bacterial strains as an indicator of terrestrial ecosystems in the high latitude Arctic. He has already done DNA sequencing of the samples he found, and already had a quite interesting results in this connection.
Alexander, 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. So the other research which could be done, which was done, is connected with ornithology, of course, oceanography and meteorological research on the transits. This year we also had a very interesting experience of studies connected with the historical and cultural heritage on the Arctic Islands. So the condition of the buildings was studied. As I already told, this is also an opportunity for students and PhD students especially, because during the expedition, we not only conduct research, but also there is a series of multidisciplinary lectures, of course, done by the researchers who are on board. And of course, there are also sessions for students who present their research projects and we discuss their research projects. And of course, as a result of the students' research, there is a conference which was held this year in October, both offline and online, and where students present their research results, which is what is also a good practice for them, of course, how to present and discuss their studies. You could find more information at our website, and we have also social networks, also in Facebook and Instagram. You could find more information, and of course, you could contact me. And we really hope that next year expedition will be international again, and we will be very happy to see Japanese representatives on board. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexander, for the very interesting presentation. And first of all, I would like to say just a very brief comment. Can all the presenters please send your presentations and share your presentations? I will post my email, so we will collect everything, and also we will, if you don't mind, we'll share all the context in between ourselves, between speakers. So I'm going to collect that. Thank you so much. And also, Alexander, thank you so much for giving an overview of the interesting to see that how the research and education is happening in action within your project, like floating university, because you have educational modules, but also you do have very interesting research outcomes from your expeditions as well. So Hiroyuki-san, please go ahead, ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's a very interesting. So Japan will have a new icebreaker for the Arctic region in 5 years. So before start operating a new icebreaker, we need icebreaker scientists or training new generation. It's a very interesting opportunity, I think. So I want to know about your activity more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. My contacts were presented on the slide, so I will share it, and you could join and write to me. I'll be happy to answer all your questions.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And also, I see that Marina had question. Marina, do you want to voice it, or I can read it? Let's go ahead. No? Yeah, Marina is asking, are you planning in the future to allow non-academic participants, such as private company representatives, join these expeditions so that they can learn more about the Arctic and launch new Arctic-related projects, or are companies only allowed to join and sponsor? Sponsors?
Usually, of course, the main priority is given for academic participants, especially like research students and PhD students. However, if the company is interested and maybe its interests are also somehow connected with science and education, I think this is a possible option. So we just need to see in details what kind of company. But of course, since the expedition organization is quite expensive, like even for the university project, we'll be happy to consider all the opportunities, also the sponsorship.
Okay, thank you so much. And we will leave the larger discussion to the end of the session. And right now, I want to give a microphone to Juha Saunavaara, who is assistant professor at the Hokkaido University Arctic Research Center for Social Science and Humanities Research Group. Juha has published in peer-reviewed journals and edited volumes representing various fields, ranging from Arctic and Japanese studies to history, geography, and international relations, and his current research focuses on infrastructure and connectivity in and through the Arctic, the development of Northern and Arctic data center industry, regional development, and non-state actors international cooperation. Juha, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear participants. Again, my name is Juha Saunavaara. It's a great pleasure to give this speech. I will actually give this speech in cooperation with my colleague Marina Lomaeva. I would like to express my apologies that I joined a bit late and I could not be here when we started. Again, Marina and our speech will focus on academic cooperation between Japan and Russia on Arctic and North related issues. And today's speech will reflect our individual backgrounds and our past experiences. But first, I would like to give the floor to Marina. And I guess Marina can also share the screen. Marina, can you hear us? Okay, now something is not working as planned. So
yeah, maybe she's lost connection because I don't see her as well. Maybe you can start the presentation, Juha?
It says I cannot start sharing while other participant is sharing. So it seems that somebody else is sharing the screen.
I think Marina. Okay, now it's stopped.
Let's try again. Host disabled participant screen sharing. So I guess host should allow me to share the screen. Okay, now it seems that I'm allowed to share the screen. Let's go with this one.
Okay.
And I hope this is not going as planned, but let me see. Okay, maybe you can now see the.
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Marina will come online because there are parts that she was supposed to present. But first, about HARP. From September 2018 to September 21, there was a university industry government partnership. Marina was working in the HARP project. HARP stands for Human Resource Development Platform for Japan-Russia Economic Cooperation and Personal Exchange. This HARP itself, it was and is as an unprecedented undertaking of creating of all Japan and all Russia network of universities and partner organizations. So HARP was funded, and it's still funded until the end of this fiscal year by the Ministry of Education and Science as a part of the 2017 Inter-University Exchange Project. Hokkaido University, together with Niigata University, applied for this grant and proposed launching a platform that would support educational projects that in the areas covered by the 2016 Japan-Russia 8-point plan for economic cooperation. Corresponding, 8 corresponding specialized sections were established, which are in some ways similar to the Arctic thematic networks. And I can see that Marina is now online, and most likely she has changed the room and a PC, but maybe not able to talk yet. So here are some slides describing. Okay, and now Marina is online, I can see.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, my computer just decided to restart all of a sudden. So these slides give an overview about the Japanese and Russian partners. Juha, can you please move on to slide 6? With the legacy of the East Russia-Japan Expert Education Program, RG3 program, which Hokkaido University started in 2014, together with the 5 Russian universities situated in the Arctic and the Far East regions, including the Northeastern Federal University. Cooperation on the Arctic and North-related issues became one of the mainstays of the HARP project. Please, next slide. Its importance is reflected in the fact that one of the specialized sections was subsequently reorganized into SDGs, environment, resource development, multicultural education, with a focus on the following areas of education and research-related cooperation: environmental monitoring in the Russian Far East and North, regional development, including resource development, and social issues of local communities, including indigenous peoples. Please, next slide. This specialized section gathered researchers with natural science and humanities backgrounds at Japanese universities. It drew not only on the RG3 program network of contacts, but also on Hokkaido and Sapporo's sister region and sister city relations. It also utilized Sapporo's leadership at World Winter City Association of Mayors, Hokkaido's historical ties with the Northern Forum, and membership in Hokkaido Russia Interregional Cooperation Team. This Arctic and North focus also linked the new specialized section to the activities of Hokkaido University Arctic Research Center and the ARCS and ARCS-2 projects. Next slide, please. I will quickly show you the slides describing events that have shaped this Arctic and North related section. Next slide, please, and one more. Next slide, and yeah, one more, please. Lists our main Russian and Japanese partners in the Arctic and North related fields. Next slide. Our cooperation with them so far has taken the form of offline, online, and hybrid events, to which we invited them as speakers and commentators, short-term lecture courses, discussing possibilities of collaborating on mid to long-term projects involving business and government circles, and collecting data from open sources as a first step to feasibility studies for business-related projects.
Then I will just say a few words about the activities in 2020, 2021, and my personal findings. So please note that these activities have taken place at the time of COVID-19, and then, at the time when COVID-19 has challenged us to reconsider and re-establish the ways how we do cross-border cooperation. So starting from the beginning of 2021, we have organized 5 online events, and we here refers to Hokkaido University Arctic Research Center, ARCS-2, HARP, and then U-Arctic thematic network on Asia in the Arctic, Arctic in Asia. And in addition to this, we have had plenty of cooperating partners in individual events such as UIT, Arctic University of Norway, we have had Moscow State University and so on, in different individual events. And as you can see, the geographical focus and types of actors have varied between different events.
The Russian speakers represented not only the central research and educational institutions, such as Moscow State University, St. Petersburg State University, MGIMO, but also regional centers of the Arctic and Northern research in both the western and eastern parts of the Russian Arctic zone, such as Khabarovsk State University of Economics and Law. These regional centers are playing a prominent role in the regional networks on the Arctic-related issues, at times also acting as a conduit for cross-border cooperation of the actors in these networks with the neighboring regions in the Barents, Bering, and Far East regions. Most Japanese speakers, on the other hand, came from research centers in the region with a long history of paradiplomatic engagement with the Russian Far East and Arctic, Hokkaido, Niigata, and Kobe, which have also played a major part in shaping Japan's Arctic policy.
Yeah, then this October, we zoomed into the Asia-Pacific region, and this slide describes some of the themes and topics that have frequently appeared in our events. So we have often talked about different types of settlements, cities, companies, and industrial projects, and their relations with the sustainable development of the Arctic and North. We have often talked about the past, present, and future of different forums and organizations supporting international and interregional cooperation. We have often talked about the role and the added value of cross-border interregional cooperation and challenges in international and interregional cooperation in the Arctic and North. We have, during the recent events, we have talked about Arctic environment, the local and regional actors, their role in the protection of the Arctic environment, and often coming back to the question, what is the role of science and academic cooperation in the sustainable development? Our last event was actually on December 8th and 9th, so last week, when we organized a two-day event, development of sustainable cruise industry in the Pacific Arctic, future developments and past developments and future prospects. This was organized by Japan Arctic Research Network, JARCnet, and then there was our research center, HARP, ARC2, the U-Arctic Thematic Network. And we fruitfully cooperated with the Russian Far East and Arctic Development Corporation. This workshop is a part of a wider Asia-Pacific Sustainable Cruise Initiative based on international, interregional, and cross-sectoral cooperation, and emphasizes the importance of understanding the local environmental, social, and infrastructural possibilities and limitations. Its roots go actually back to the work of Arctic Cruise Study Group that has been working a few years and has been funded by JARCnet.
This workshop brought together researchers, public authorities, private companies, and NGOs interested in the economically, environmentally, and socially sustainable and responsible cruise tourism in land and sea areas around Hokkaido, the Russian Far East, and the Arctic, the Sea of Okhotsk, the North Pacific Ocean, the Bering Sea, and the Chukchi Sea. The topics discussed range from environmental protection, management, and regulation to the relationship between local, both indigenous and non-indigenous communities, and tourism industry, port and tourism related infrastructure, economic feasibility, interregional cooperation, and human resource development.
And again, this workshop, it demonstrated that questions concerning cruise industry and sustainability can be approached from various different angles. We are actually planning to continue this project with follow-up meetings, and we are considering the way how to publish the outcomes, maybe a special issue of an academic journal or something like that. But these are early stage plans. This slide describes my personal views and experiences concerning cooperation between Japan and Russia on Arctic and North related issues. So one important thing is that it seems that there is a will to cooperate, both between individual researchers, between universities, and also in the wider industry, academia, government framework. There are issues that are both, that both Japanese and Russian researchers find interesting. When it comes to the challenges, the project building part, may be a challenge. So far, it has been easy to organize events, seminars, where a highly meaningful discussion takes place. That introduce topical issues, but the next step, which in the academic world is often co-authoring something together, writing papers or making applications for external funding and things like that, it has been a bit more difficult, or at least it has been a bit more time consuming, but we are going in that direction. One more thing is education. Japanese-Russian academic cooperation in the Arctic and North related issues is not only about research, but also in education. And as said, COVID-19 opened our eyes to the possibilities of online lecturing. I personally have really positive experiences concerning online lectures to different Russian universities. And the last thing from me, while I'm very much optimistic about the prospects of cooperation between Japan and Russia in Arctic and North related issues, there are a few issues that I would like to mention that need to be considered. One is that cooperation between Japanese and Russian academic communities, it involves numerous talented scholars, but there are always some key persons who play crucial roles. And when these persons retire, there's always a risk that we are kind of we may lose the existing ties. And therefore, it is important to educate young scholars and help them to acquire experiences and capabilities that are needed so that they can continue the work of their predecessors. Other important thing in my mind is that, there are programs like RTE3 and HARP and others supporting the cooperation between Japan and Russia. They typically undergo a change, some kind of downscaling after their grant funding period ends. So therefore, these networks, these trust building mechanisms and concrete projects that are built within these kind of projects need to be incorporated into our daily activities, and then maybe incorporated in also other projects. For example, HARP achievements and the network it has built may be utilized, and I hope will be utilized for carrying out projects within the framework of ARCS2, for example.
And last, a few concluding remarks based on my personal experience of the HARP and North and Arctic related activities, including involving Japanese and Russian stakeholders. First, in general, Russian scholars show greater interest in cooperation with Japanese partners than the other way around. Partly, this may be attributed to a more positive image of Japan and Russia than Russia and Japan in mass media. Second, the same may be said about students. Russian students are generally keen on participating in various events in different capacities, including volunteers and searching for opportunities of studying abroad. The main reason may be differences in the recruitment, employment practices, which students need to take into account when planning their future careers. On the technical side, the widespread use of messengers for communication in Russia greatly facilitates communication with the stakeholders, including the top administration, who are in general easier to approach than their Japanese counterparts. One of the biggest challenges in Japan-Russia collaborations have been different time frames in planning. As a rule, the Russian side has to plan in a shorter time frame and be prepared for higher risks of sudden changes than their Japanese counterparts. Another major challenge is a difference in a degree of individuals' leeway in making new contacts and initiating discussions of prospective collaborations. Usually it is higher in Russia than in Japan. On the other hand, in Japan, reputational risks associated with sudden cancellations are much higher, and risk management and backup planning are more advanced. And it is always easier for both the Japanese and Russian side to start a new project within the existing framework, or as an offshoot of the currently running one, particularly when there is a chance of enlisting some of the current participants. Therefore, careful study of the past and present projects before presenting a new proposal to the Japanese side from Russia would increase chances of success. As an international human exchange coordinator of the ARCS2 project, I hope that students and early career researchers and professionals will be given an opportunity to join Japan-Russia collaborative projects, programs, and platforms, and inject new energy and ideas into these processes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you from my side as well. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties.
Yeah, thank you so much, Juha and Marina, for such a comprehensive presentation and such an interesting presentation, I would say. And it's great to see the tremendous activities and efforts that you have done so far. And also, it is very important to see that you take up the legacies of the International Polar Year that has happened. And we have already discussed that today as well, that we do need to nurture early career researchers, to train them to have this knowledge exchange and continuity of knowledge, which is very important and has been discussed during the previous IPY, and I'm sure which will be included in the upcoming International Polar Year, even though that it is 10 years ahead, I think, or a little bit more. But anyway, it is very interesting and very good to prepare. Sure.
Yeah, so I suppose that our JE3 program is a very fruitful program. So personally, I know 4 students who took part at that program. And one, my current postgraduate student, Barbara, she studied for half of year at Hokkaido University. And so now she's a leading young researcher at our group. Yeah. Let's continue that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And it would be interesting also to see how, for example, you will get connected to Alexander, because he also has a lot of interesting, I think, projects ongoing. And it would be nice to share the ideas and to share resources and opportunities. And that's why we have this great association of Japanese and Russian universities where we can share and talk. And also, thank you so much for bringing up this research and education cultural differences question. It is quite an important, but also during my, let's say, extensive international collaborations with different nations, I would say that we all have differences in our culture, languages, and so on, but we shouldn't accept them as barriers, but rather keep them as opportunities to learn from each other, which is a fantastic thing, and for which we have all this kind of activities that you have presented with your online and in-person activities, and what we have at the moment. And with this, I would like to give a microphone to Natalia Sidova, Dr. Natalia Sidova, senior researcher at the Department of Environmental Management, Faculty of Geography, Lomonosov, Moscow State University. Natalia, sorry that we kept you silent for such a long time, but we are pleased to have you online. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Julia. Can you see my presentation?
Yes,
the
we
screen?
can. Thank you.
Just I'm trying to launch it. Just a minute. To launch it like this. Yes, the whole screen is. So good afternoon, dear colleagues.
We still see it in a working mode, I think. Maybe it's just because you have choose the other
I'll
option.
try it this way. Is it better?
Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm very happy to be here at this webinar devoted to one of the burning issues of our modern world, which is sustainable development of Arctic. My presentation is split into 3 areas. So I'll talk about complex research in the Arctic region carried out by our department, then about projects that existed between Moscow State University and the University of Tokyo, and potential ideas for future collaboration. Sustainability of the Arctic is among the priorities of the Faculty of Geography, where I work, and of our Department of Environmental Management. In my presentation, I will cover just some complex research carried out for many years in Murmansk region by the students and teachers of our Department of Environmental Management. Research is aimed at identifying ways to optimize nature management of the study areas through integrated approach. Usually we use integrated approach. And here you can see the main aims of it. So we studied nature, including toponymic research, in the context usually of a comprehensive study of nature management as a system. So we study nature, culture, history, economic activities. We carry out sociological studies on the socio-economic situation in the various administrative districts of Murmansk region. We study natural hazards for further assessment of environmental and economic damage caused by them. We conduct geoecological studies. Of course, we study recreational potential and tourism management. In the course of our expeditions, we gather the huge mass of data characterizing the different aspects of nature management and the contemporary environmental situation. The area of study has many attractive factors for developing different types of nature management. So here I just show you some examples of maps, diagrams, and some outputs of our research. For example, one of the topics, that's the pollution of nature in Monchegorsk, near the metallurgic plant. We study here, you have an example of a map showing the pollution of snow car. That was during the winter expeditions. Also, we have a lot of data characterizing the pollution of vegetation cover, of soils. Special attention is given to current and potential conflicts of nature management. That's then some examples of them. We can see the village and there the open mining. Special attention should be given to traditional nature use of indigenous people. Also here you have an example. We study their Sami people. Here you can see a map of monuments of culture of the Sami. That's also what, I just want to show what kind of research we do in Murmansk region. Sociological study. In our research, we often turn to sociological studies. Sociological research serves as a link between theoretical research and reality. In many presentations today, also you mentioned this, that you use this kind of research, which helps to establish new patterns of development of society as a whole, or any of its structural elements in particular. Here also we have some examples of diagrams and also some photos made by my colleagues, by our students. That's about the sociological studies, were about the potential of tourism development in Murmansk region, especially in Khibiny, in the Khibiny mountains. Such kind of results we can get analyzing the sociological studies. For example, we can talk about factors, socio-economic factors that reduce the tourism and recreational attractiveness of the region. Our foreign colleagues also showed interest in our research. We have experience of joint work with Holland, Sweden, Germany, Great Britain. Also in recent years, we have very actively cooperated with the University of Tokyo. Let me tell about it in detail. The basis of our cooperation was Memorandum of Understanding between Nature Management Department of Faculty of Geography, Moscow State University, and the Department of Civil Engineering Graduate School or the University of Tokyo. Here we can see Professor Yuri Mazurov. He's my colleague and co-author of this presentation, and Professor Kiichiro Hatayama from the University of Tokyo. There are some preconditions for this cooperation. First of all, that's mutual interest, of course, neighborhood, some common values we share, and of course, political support, and something else, maybe, the future. The history of our cooperation. So we started with this formal agreement. between University of Tokyo and Moscow State University and wrote this memorandum between two departments. Then we organized the first Russian-Japanese seminar for sustainable environment. As a result, I have a slide about this. This was in 2013 when we started our cooperation. It was held at Moscow State University. The next, there were some proceedings of this seminar. Then was the second Russian-Japanese collaboration seminar was in Tokyo, in Japan. And also there were some proceedings. And then steps appeared. That's a program and a special program which appeared as a result of the collaboration between two universities. The seminar is open for the participations of scientists, representatives of the expert community in the sphere of environmental management in Russia. Also, it was expected that Russian and Japanese students and postgraduates should take part in it. And here we have examples. That's also second. Japanese students, we accepted Japanese students at Moscow State University for postgraduate programs. There was a kind of internship that Professor Hatayama with the proceedings of the seminar. And the third Russian-Japanese took place at Moscow State University in 2016. The name, it was Environmental Risks for Socio-Economic Development. That's Japanese students at they were invited to the State Duma of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation by Professor Slipinchuk, who is the head of our department. And he worked as a deputy of the State Duma. And at that period, he even invited the Japanese student to the Duma. So here we have some photos which were taken during the internship of Japanese students. So we accepted several students during this period of cooperation. And there was also a big group of Japanese students at Moscow State University and some Russian students from our department. They also visited Japan as in the form of exchange programs. Also, this information about the next the next seminar, which was held in St. Petersburg in 2018. Here we can see Dr. Hatayama and Professor Slipinchuk. So on behalf of the rector of Moscow State University, Professor Slipinchuk so gives a certificate for strengthening scientific and educational ties between Russia and Japan. So having such experience, we are ready to cooperate with our colleagues in Japan. Our proposal to extend the experience to the Arctic region, to propose the previous project was just about the sustainable environment. Here we can talk about sustainable environment of the Arctic for the future we want. That's a kind of version of the project. So what are the fields of cooperation? First of all, workshops. publications as the outputs of these workshops, student exchanges. We have good experience in organizing such exchanges, fieldwork research, internships. So I would just say a few words about these fieldwork or for students, for Japanese students. So during this field work, they can get practical training and scientific research. The purpose of this educational student fieldwork to introduce the regional specifics of nature management established in various environmental, socio-economic, and ethnic social conditions, to master methods of fieldwork of environmental studies, and to study, to carry complex studies and mapping of nature management. Here there are some photos of such field work. Also, students will get an opportunity to visit different objects. For example, here you can see the students visit to the mining connected with the apatite extraction in the Hibini Mountains. Let me end by saying the following. It's important that the problem of sustainable development remains very actual for our countries, for Russia and Japan. And the scientists are seeking to inform such understanding to business and political community of the countries and their population in general. Researchers in the field of environment and nature management are in high demand, both in Russia and Japan. It would seem that it's quite natural in these conditions that this cooperation between scientists and experts in both countries. We believe that both countries are interested in creating reliable channels of cooperation and open prospects of its deepening. We hope that Japan and Russia both have mutual interest in such projects, and maybe even their support from the states. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm open for your questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Natalia. It was great to see collaborations at the western part of Russian Arctic, especially Hibini Mountains, Murmansk region, from where I am moderating this session today. So thank you so much. And with this session, we have a very interesting range of different great examples and successful collaborations from western part to eastern part of Russia, all the way along from Murmansk region to Yakutia. And yes, you also brought up very important issue, which is the social awareness and stakeholder awareness of the Arctic change. And I hope that we will have a chance to discuss it. If there are no immediate questions, and I have seen that Marina has posted some kind of an offer to you, Natalia, so if you can get back to chat and answer to her, that would be great. And we're going further, and I want to give a floor to Professor Alexander Pilasov. Sorry for keeping you silent for a very long time, but you are going to present a very great presentation, and hopefully you will give us a floor to rethinking a little bit of the Arctic and economic outcomes in the Russian Arctic with your presentation. So Professor Alexander Pilasov is a specialist, an expert on northern regions and the Arctic, author of numerous works on the geography of innovation, and chairman of the Russian section of the European Regional Science Association, and chairman of the socioeconomic section of the Expert Council on the Arctic and Antarctic under the chairman of the Federation Council of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation, and Director General of the Institute of Regional Consulting. So Alexander, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for waiting.
So can you see my voice and the presentation?
Yes, we can. Go
Yes,
ahead.
thank you, Julia. After your short, brief announcement on my personality, no time for the presentation. So I try to be very short. And I would like to tell you, dear colleagues, friends, and comrades, that this is my second attempt to deliver this presentation to the colleagues from the University of Hokkaido. And Juha and Marina can confirm. Let us hope that this second attempt will be more successful than the first one from the city of Ijevsk because of bad connection. And the idea of this presentation is very easy. This is the major results of the 3-year project financed by the Russian Foundation for Basic Research. And the book will be published next year. So I'll be happy to share this book. I hope it will be published in the spring with all participants to deliver the major results, and now to be as short as possible because of this further book which will come in.
Dear Alexander, I do apologize. Please take your time. No need to hurry.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Yulia.
you.
Thank you, that's great. Well, on this map, you can see the new reality of the Russian Arctic, how Russian Arctic is becoming bigger and how Russian North is becoming less and less. This is new realities, and of course, covering the issue of economic development 2.0 of the Russian Arctic, we should take this new reality in consideration. And this is important to you all, as the field of your Russian-Japanese cooperation is becoming bigger and bigger. So you can use new platforms with new municipal districts and new Arctic cities as new platforms for your cooperation. For instance, in the Republic of Karelia, in new districts, new Arctic districts in the Republic of Komi, etc. So Arctic is becoming bigger, and this is, as I can see, this is good news for scientists. One of the peculiarities and one of the surprises as the result of this 3-year project was the conclusion that the major industrial product in the Arctic is generated by the municipal districts and not in cities, as is the norm throughout the world, throughout the developed world, etc. But in the Arctic, this is just the opposite. And on this figure, you can see how Yamal municipal districts are the champions with industrial product, and not such city as Muravlenka, Arkhangelsk, Murmansk, etc. Only the city of Norilsk can be comparable with the Arctic municipal districts according to this industrial product indicator. And this is interesting news, and this is, of course, one more detail to count and to conclude that Arctic is very different, not only in natural conditions, but also in social and economic conditions. And we can repeat and repeat brilliant words from the Alice in the Wonderland about the Australia, when people used to go just upside down in comparison with the common people in Europe or in US. Antarctic is just this statement from the Alice in Wonderland. This is the comparison of 100 of economic development period in the Russian Arctic. And you can see that we can distinguish three clear periods in this 100-year panorama. It's early industrial with integral combines, so-called. And the second, it's of course late industrial with Soviet departments. And finally, contemporary period with corporate economic development, and we can call it post-industrial. And it is interesting that in each period, we can see special focus districts or territories which are in great demand. For instance, in the first, it was Republic of Komi. In the second, it was Yamal-Nenets Autonomous District with the southern territories. And in the third, it's Nenets Autonomous and the northern part of Yamal-Nenets Autonomous Okrug. So it's interesting how the boom territories are changing from the first to the third period of economic development in the Arctic. And you can see also, utilizing this table, that the great deal of indicators are different for this first, second, and third period of economic development in the Arctic. What is the strange and peculiar feature of contemporary third period? We have two schemes, in fact. We have the scheme from scratch or greenfield, economic development and projects, and we can see the scheme from the infrastructure of previous development, or we can call it brownfield development. And you can see examples for each scheme of development. Of course, during the first and even the second period, we cannot reveal such two distinctly different schemes of economic development or colonization in the Arctic. This is the reality of the third period. And of course, when we're telling or saying about the brownfield development, we can immediately remind Lee Husky, brilliant regional scholar in the state of Alaska. You can see it to the left in this photo, with his issue of the Jack London effect. He was the first to pay attention to this brilliant work of Jack London in the beginning of 20th century, when he said about the consequences of Yukon economic development. And he said that generally it was a very unprofitable deal for prospectors. The majority of them ran bankruptcy. But in general, for the territory, it was a very profitable deal, as roads were erected, as houses were constructed, etc. And you can see the excerpt from this brilliant essay of Jack London when he positioned himself as a very good regional economist about this effect. And Lee Husky called this Jack London effect of brownfield development, which can be based on the previous stage, on the previous infrastructure. One more reality of contemporary colonization is, of course, very new technology. And if we compare it with the second period to the left, and see that how much high tech is added during the contemporary era. We are looking at the same deposit, we can call it, at the same style of oil extraction, but the technology is absolutely different. Yes, and under the Soviet times, the majority of contemporary deposits were well examined and geologically known, but it was impossible to develop them, to extract minerals, oil and gas from these deposits, because they are comprehensive, because they are complicated for technology, etc. And new reality is that all these deposits known well by the Soviet geologists are now real to extract and to develop. This is new reality, and it is of course the issue of globalization and technologically opportunity to get technology at any technology which is necessary from the global world and from the global expertise. And this is the example of such complicated deposit, Mesoyakskaya field in the northern Yamal, which was impossible to develop under the Soviet era and possible to develop under the new global Arctic and global world era. And of course, when we would like to structurize new projects and old projects in the contemporary Arctic, we can reveal 4 types. And this is a combination of space and activities. New old space, I mean territory, and new old economic activities or resources. And this combination of these 2 axes can give us 4 situations. Pure greenfield, partly greenfield, second, very close to the brownfield, and pure brownfield, the last one. And of course, we can immediately distinguish how the concrete Russian Arctic territory from Murmansk to Chukotka can be inside this or that point of this classification. And now look at the Gazprom old decisions taken from the 70s and now still survive in the 21st century. This is interesting how the old scheme can survive after 50 years of economic history and can be used still in the new Kharasaveyskaya field as it was in Yamburskaya field in 1980s. This is interesting. Photo can give us such a reflection. This is 2 schemes, which is very actual in contemporary Arctic economic development, and it's coastal traditional scheme of pipeline transportation, pipeline logistics, and new marine scheme, contemporary, taken into consideration the reality of climate change, northern sea route potential, and Asian markets, which is more convenient to for transportation by marine and not by coastal route, traditional coastal route. And this is again new reality. Under the Soviet time, we used to say about powerful district effect in the Arctic and in the North. What did it mean? It meant that we can receive extra money or extra profit, combining different activities in one district. So it's not only extraction, but transportation, infrastructural development, and settlement, new settlement issues, etc. And all in new district of economic development, new district of growth. But now this reality are corporate ones. This is the issue of corporations to get this extra profit effect. This district effect still alive. And we can see how Russian corporations try to combine, to use proximity in their license plots to utilize this district effect. You can see on these maps how each license area is adjusted to the neighbor one. In the case of Novatek in Yamal Autonomous District, and for the instance, in the case of Yugra for Surgutneftegas company. And of course, we utilizing and speculating on the issue of economic development 2.0, we were obliged to say about the constant dichotomy in the Arctic development. I mean this dichotomy between stationary and temporary. And of course, under the Soviet time, it was more stationary and less temporary. And now it's vice versa or upside down, we're preferring more to tell about temporary in settlement issues, for instance, and less stationary in new Arctic economic development or economic development 2.0. And of course, contemporary development is much more innovative. So we're obliged to use patent statistic data for the Russian corporations and look about their innovative search with patent activity. And we can conclude that this innovative activity of corporations are very unequal in time and very unequal, and usually great peaks, they're sort of 1-2 years ahead of economic development of new field or new territory. And finally, the issue of new social and political economic issues connecting with this Arctic economic development 2.0. And of course, the book on platform capitalism gives us some insights how to copy or how to prolong the ideas of this book to the reality of the Russian Arctic. Yes, we can see how platform solutions are utilizing by the Russian resource corporations in the Arctic. And we can compare them with traditional solutions of the Soviet industrial combines or trusts or departments. And you can see that all parameters or all indicators are very, very different. And we can see reality of Gazprom Neft Captain program and its attempts to utilize this platform for new users, to invite new corporations for this platform, this Captain platform software. And this is the mark how this platform capitalism with digitalization as with new power of infrastructural and informational monopolies are arising in the Russian Arctic, as it was arised before in the developed world.
Dear Alexander, 2 minutes.
Yes, I am concluding. And of course, there are some advantages and disadvantages with this platform capitalism. It's new technology, but it's social alienation and a few benefits which is spilled into the region and regional economies. And this is like the proof of these realities of dichotomy of the poles of growth with new projects and territories without new projects of traditional specialization. You can see that by statistical indicators, very, very different. The results, I prefer to not to read, but to give you this opportunity. And now, last but not least, and very important point, I was happy to have a Japanese professor, Shinichiro Tabata, who gave a very attentive look on this presentation during this first attempt from Ijevsk. And he has posed 4 questions, and I am happy to answer them in very short period of 3-4 minutes, and ask Juha to deliver my greetings for this attention and my answers directly to Professor Shinichiro Tabata. And the first question, 4 questions, and 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And he asked about the social costs. He said, what does social costs mean in your slide? But social cost means it's unemployment, no benefits for the local residents, and total alienation from the territory of new platform projects like Sabeta, etc. So under the Soviet time, it was huge district effect, and the whole municipal district was involved in economic development directly and indirectly by jobs, revenues, social benefits, etc., etc. Now it's much less, much more narrow, and much less these benefits for the territory, social benefits. Social corporate responsibility, of course, one of the issue, but not enough. Second question: what about monoprofile cities? We have in Hokkaido coal monoprofile cities. What your receipts and what are your instructions how to deal with them? Well, we have published the whole book on innovative search in the monoprofile cities. So this book answers the question of Professor Tabata, but I would like to stress that you in Hokkaido, you have the luxuries of agglomeration effort. We in the Russian Arctic, we do not have such effort. And of course, agglomeration effect and networking of the neighboring cities can help a lot in solving the problem of coal monoprofile cities in Hokkaido. And third question, so is it good to increase population in the Arctic? Well, Arctic is different. There is Arctic and Arctic. In the Russian case, when it's always connected with geopolitical issues, of course, dynamics of population in the Arctic is very important. In Canadian Arctic, when there are no geopolitical issues, of course, dynamic of population in the Arctic are geopolitically neutral issue, and so the state does not care. The last fourth question: is it possible to improve the situation in the Republic of Yakutia when we can compare oil development in rubles and diamond development? It's of course for the oil development. But when we compare social benefits from development, it's for the diamond development. So there is such disproportion. And the question is, can we sort of equalize the issue of profits and the issue of social benefits for the territory of Yakutia? Well, this is the issue of several points. First, diamonds and oil and gas, different taxation, different social embeddedness for the territory, etc. So this is very important. The kind of resources does matter for the territory of presence. And the second, of course, that's the issue of corporations. Alrosa which is socially embedded corporations from the birth, and Surgutneftegas, which is very Yugor dependent or federal dependent corporation. And it's, of course, another story. He is a stranger in Yakutia, and Alrosa, on the opposite, is the native burner, the native in the Republic of Yakutia. This is also a very important point. So to solve this dilemma, or to solve this thing, we have to go as far as origin of corporation and the type of resource in the Russian Arctic. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Pilyasov. I managed to record your reply, and I will send this to this document or recording to Tabata Sensei tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Alexander. It's amazing to see how this particular session summarized different opportunities, resources, and also was the platform to exchange the academic opinions. It's quite interesting. Thank you so much. And thank you for accelerating our thinking of the Arctic a little bit, the Russian Arctic, because we had some certain of discussion in the chat box regarding the perception of the Arctic and the North. And is there any questions from the audience to Professor Pilyasov? Okay, yes, go ahead, Juha.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I have several possible questions, but maybe I will just make it two short ones, and then Professor Pilyasov can decide whether there's time to reply. First, when you talk about Arctic becoming bigger and North becoming smaller, it reminded me of I'm born and raised in near Rovaniemi, and in 1990s when Arctic Arctic Center was established in Rovaniemi, local people did not necessarily recognize and identify themselves as Arctic people. Now the situation is different. So I was just wondering whether you see this Arctic becoming bigger and Arctic becoming reconceptualized. Is it only a political process, or is there some kind of cultural process going on in the background as well? Other thing that I was thinking when seeing this development schemes or three periods, the last being the post-industrial one, and now we have this discussion concerning the fourth industrial revolution. We have the digital revolution combined with green transition. So do you think digital revolution and green transition are forces strong enough kind of to push Arctic on its fourth period or fourth development scheme? Those were the first things that came to my mind when listening your presentation. Thank you.
Yes, Juha, thank you for your interest. The first, of course, it's comprehensive issue because this is a general restructuring of the role of Arctic and North inside the Russian Federation. I was started in 90s as a federal employee at the Federal Committee for the Northern Development in Moscow in 90s. And I was responsible for the Northern Development, and we know a little about Arctic. Only since the Arctic Council 1998, 7 and 8, we get the impetus to speculate on the Arctic development in concreta, which was not popular under the Soviet because of northern focus in the Soviet planning campaign, etc. Not Arctic, but northern focus. So, and it was totally changed since the 21st century and the last 25 years. So this is interesting issue, and of course it's comprehensive. It's northern sea route and climate change. It's marine logistics. It's a general interest to the last strawberry field of the humankind, which is Arctic, definitely is. And of course, the issue of climate change does differentiate North and Arctic very precisely, very distinctively, because Arctic is a winner of this climate change and North is loser. Why? Because of Zimniks, temporary roads, and less availability of the northern territory, but more availability of the Arctic territories. so marine territories, and less of the coastal, because of temporary roads, the period of their functioning is less and less from year to year. So it's interesting, this distinction inside the Arctic and North. And the second question, it's about the technological revolution, which was the reality of the scientific literature since 70s, when our colleagues wrote about snowmobile revolution in the natives' families. It was the issue of 1970s literature. In the Russian case, it was the issue and the reality of the 90s, 25 years after. Yes, but this technological basis did arrive in the Arctic. And so this is a lesson for us that dealing with the Arctic development and Arctic research, even with the nature and natural issues, we should take into consideration the general technological shift, which is also present in the Arctic. We are not free from this technological paradigm, which is for the whole world and for the Arctic too. That was very good example for the natural and social scientists in the Arctic. Please do not ignore the technological issues and technological paradigm in your research.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. If there are any other questions, and if not, I will try to summarize and we'll give a brief follow-up and feedback from our speakers. Thank you so much, first of all, for all the great presentations that you have presented, and they reflected a lot of great activities and research projects, educational activities, and also academic exchanges, as we have seen at the moment, in between both Japan and Russia. And I would like to underline just a few points from all the presentations that went through all the presentations. First of all, the importance of training of early career researchers to let's say to ensure that we have this continuity of knowledge and exchange of cultural perceptions. We have great examples of infrastructural access both to the field stations and to research vessels, and we hope that, as Hiroyuka-san has mentioned, the acceleration of Japanese and Russian collaborations. And I think that we have also seen that through all the presentations that we had today, the acceleration of exchange, and we hope that it will continue. And even though that we have some of the differences in research and also cultural realities, but we have a lot of to share among our nations, and we do I think need to think of the people-to-people connection, which is quite important for building, for maintaining all the collaborations. And such kind of networks as, for example, this association or different networks and the outcoming different projects and outcoming networks out of the projects. They have shown that it is important to continue with that efforts, and it would be nice to see a lot of workshops and exchanges in some upcoming times when hopefully COVID will stop and we will get back to the normal reality, as we call in academic and educational context. So I would like to give a floor to some of our speakers who want to share some final remarks before we will say goodbye. Go ahead.
Well, I have very short remark.
Yeah, sure.
Now, all of us today prove that Monday the 13th can be a very successful day for scientific cooperation.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.